Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing. We are in the latter half of March now, and I know for many of you, you probably can be out in the garden a little bit, getting some early starts. I thought we might do that here today, but as we're in a bit of a snow belt area, we still have lots of snow on the ground, and the garden is mostly covered in snow. There's a few spots out there where we can see the ground. We've got a few snowdrops blooming. That's about it. So maybe another week and we'll be back out in the garden. So we're going to do a little task that you should be starting to think about. Not a necessity, but if you want quicker results, it's time to start thinking about waking up your summer flowering bulb plants. Now, not everything, but certainly if you want to get your dahlias started, you can do that. Good morning, Paula. I'm on my own today, so I hope that I'll try to keep an eye on the comments, and if anything's not working right, just let me know. I'll try to correct. Uh, so we're in the greenhouse. We're going to start looking at some of our summer flowering bulb plants. Um, Things like dahlias, you can be getting them started now. They're available in the stores. Get them potted up. The sooner you get them potted, you get them growing. When it's time to put them out, you're going to have a much earlier bloom time. Another one that's important uh, to get out, start thinking about, get going, are your canna lilies. And canna lilies are one that we're going to look at today. Um, we've got some space now that we're going to start getting them out and get them potted up. So when we dig our cannas in the fall, we do it a little bit, not haphazardly or anything, but some people and a lot of the literature will tell you, get them out, clean them off, dry them out, et cetera, et cetera. Get all the dirt off them. But we actually just put them away like this. There's our canna. Which one is this one? This is Bethany. It's a real stunner. Um, we just dug these out of the containers. A little bit of frost might have hit the foliage. Not necessary. Um, we kind of have to do them when we have the time. We can't wait to do all of our cannas once frost has hit the leaves. So we dig them up, cut them all back, dry them out. They're very dry, but they're still all in sort of their, a clump of soil. So they look like a whole lot of dead. Although you can, if you look, you can start seeing little touches of growth because cannas and dahlias and things will often start growing on the reserves before we even give them any moisture or start thinking about potting them up. Um, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take this clump apart. This clump came out of the container last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 or 8 stems. So it was a good sized clump, and we're going to see sort of how many pieces we can make. There's another variety in the same pot. This one got a bit of moisture on it, so you can see that it's just growing already. We'll get to that one later. We're going to get some Bethany first. So got my potting bin of soil here. And what we're going to start doing is just getting into that old soil that's around them, loosening it off. This is our same potting soil that we mix that we use for everything. So I am putting it back into the bin. I'm actually using old soil. We go through so much soilless mix that it's a shame to just dump it all in the compost pile. So when we have excess out of seed trays and whatnot, we just store it away. We wet it back down. We reuse it again. Remember that these peat moss based mixes, this is Berger mix, but Pro Mix is the same. They really have no nutrients in them. So we're going to add that as the plants grow. You could add compost into this if you wanted. But for just growing, we're just going to get them started in this, then we're going to feed them. So nothing has been expended out of this because there's nothing to expend. It's just a medium to grow the plants in. So we're using our old leftover soils, and we end up with a lot. So you might see a bit of root pieces in there, wherever. And this soil is going back into the bin. So we're just reusing as much as we can. So we're going to start loosening off all this soil. And as we shake it away, all of a sudden, you can see right here, there's new shoots coming. This is completely dry. This soil's like dust right now, but the plant is starting to grow. Temperatures are warming up, and it's feeling like it's ready to do it. So this is where we want to get them started. Now, with most cannas and things, you can usually get in and just remove pieces. So we're going to just sort of go in, start removing, and we're going to pull out a good hunk of root. And there's a nice big growth. You can see we got lots of growth on here, lots of rhizome. And remember, this is the way cannas grow. They grow sideways. When you're potting, keep that in mind. Try to make sure you're potting them in the right direction. They will turn themselves over, and I'll show you how plants do that in a couple of minutes. But this is a nice long rhizome. As you can see, if we turn it this way, though, on this one rhizome that came out, we have got growth point, another one there, another one here, although it's a little bit dead on the tip, another one here, a small one. So this rhizome here, if you've got the space, there's no reason why you couldn't pot that up and start off with good sized clumps. But I want to put them into smaller clumps. I want to have some to make available to people. So we'll go in and we will take out smaller pieces. We'll go in right in here. We're going to go right here. The plants will often show you where they want to be divided. And if you can see the nice thick rhizome here, and then another rhizome here, there's a narrow little spot where they connect. That's the best spot to divide them at. So we'll go in there and we'll just snip off at that narrow spot. And there we go. There is our canna lily to pot up. We've got one good bud right here at least. If I take it off, yeah, there's a bit of dead leaf here, but that's okay. There's still a good viable bud right here. Probably another one here, and maybe another one here. So right away, this is probably going to be a 1 to 3 eyes is what we call them. But this is going to be 1 to 3 shoots. In March, this is going to be a big plant this year. So don't be worried about taking your canna lilies back to this size to pot up. And then that can go into a 4-inch pot or a 6-inch pot. For our cannas, we just use our 6-inch pots, just a nursery growing pot. We'll put some soil in there, about 2/3 of the way full, put our rhizome in, keeping it sideways, burying it an inch or two maybe, potting it, firming it in, and there we go. Going to give that a good soaking, and then we're going to watch it for coming up. They can stay in a cool spot. You know, canna lilies are an interesting plant, very tropical looking, great in containers and stuff, but they're really almost hardy. You don't have to go maybe Midwest. I've seen them growing, in gardens and overwintering zone 7 even sometimes if there's good protection. So they're tolerant of cold. So you don't even need to get them into a nice, really warm room. Just a nice sunny spot where they've got some moisture to start growing. Even actually keeping them coolish will actually keep the growth more compact. It's mostly a light thing and moisture at this time of the year. So we got our first one done. We can go back onto this rhizome if we want. There's probably two more on here. We'll have a look. We can go in underneath. We can cut that one. We can get that one out. There's another one that we just did. And this one here has another one here. Now, here's an old piece of rhizome. You don't even need to keep all of this if you don't want. But that doesn't all fit in your pot. Cut some of it off. Just pot it up. You might throw this into a pot. You never know. There could be dormant buds sitting on this old piece. No sense throwing it out until you see what happens. So there we go. Just from that one little piece, we're going to get 3 plants from that. And we still have this much left to go. So I'm going to start working back into this part. And we just sort of gently tease apart. There's another great rhizome piece that's going to make a super plant. There's another one that's got a good eye on it right here. There's another good one. This one probably we could divide probably into 2 again. One on this piece here with the old shoot, and this good, strong, thick growth here with lots of buds at the base. So as we keep going into the clump, we just keep removing pieces. You don't have to even cut them necessarily. If you gently tease them, they'll break apart at a spot where they want to break apart at. There's another good big piece. Could be one big plant, could be 2 smaller ones. There's another. There's another big rhizome. That will definitely be 2 plants. We'll cut that somewhere here. We got this one here, got 2 buds on it. This one's got a big bud on it. So from that one little clump we started with, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got about 10 or 12 plants from just that one clump. If you've grown cannas for a long time, you know you keep getting more and more and more every year. Great plants to give away, great plants to take to your garden clubs, sales, things like that. Um, One thing with cannas, though, that you do need to be careful of, there are viruses out there that affect canna lilies. There's 3 or 4 different ones. Some of them don't do much, and once the weather gets hot and they're growing actively, the virus sort of stops, um, as viruses do. It sort of stops when the temperatures get warm and the plants grow out and look good. Um, but there are others that you need to be very careful of. Sometimes they'll show up just as spotting on the leaf. Sometimes they'll show up as deformed leaves, especially when they're young. I've even gone into garden centers and seen whole tables full of diseased virus cannas coming from growers. So you need to be careful. Look up canna viruses, look up some pictures, get yourself familiar with what some of these viruses look like. It's really, really important. If you see the viruses in a plant, sadly, you've got to get rid of them. Uh, they're not going to get better. You can't fix them. You can't spray them or anything. When you see canna viruses, you do need to get rid of the plant. So really important to, keep an eye on these things as you're dividing. Keep your tools clean, keep them sanitized, rinse them off in bleach or alcohol um, before you go from variety to variety. And keep an eye out. Over the years, we've had cannas that look good and then come in and then you see one plant and it starts to look bad for whatever reason. We pitch them. We pitch them pot and all. We don't keep them around. We want to keep our cannas as clean as possible. So we're very careful that way. Now, one other thing that you need to be wary of, probably these days, I would buy my cannas growing from a nursery. Many of the bare root cannas we buy in packages now, excuse me, are virused. And you won't know it till you start growing them. There's a lot of viruses out there in the canna lily world. So keep an eye out, a close eye out on them. Um, and when you're buying them, watch for bad leaves and modeling of leaves and weird patterns on leaves and things like that. The cannaviruses are terrible and can be really devastating. So something to keep in mind. Anyway, not to deter you from growing cannas. I love cannas. We've got about 25 different varieties. Um, and hopefully we'll have some available for sale this spring. We're going to be dividing our cannas this week and potting them. So watch our website for varieties available. Now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you want to try to get them planted upright. Sometimes that's hard. When you've got a dormant root, you may not know which way is up. And if your cannas were sitting on their side or something like that when they were in storage, the growths are going to be turned because they want to grow up. So keep an eye out for that. Look at a root. You'll often see, even when you buy a dormant root, you'll often see buds on it, and they'll have that little upward swoop. So you can be sure to plant them in the right way. And remember, cannas are a rhizome. The stem of the canna is this piece that grows horizontally, and that's how they should be potted up. You shouldn't pot them up this way. It takes the plant a lot to figure itself out from that. Always plant them horizontally. Even if you weren't sure which way was up, plant them on their side and they'll sort themselves out. Plants are really good at that. And that brings me to the next one. When I was pulling the crates out from their storage area, uh, I noticed something in a pot in the crate beside it. I went, hold on, there's an amaryllis going to bloom there. And sometime in the winter or in the fall, this amaryllis fell in its pot, fell into the bucket of cannas. I suspect maybe Lupin might have knocked it in there, but we can't blame him. And the pot was sitting upside down. So this is what I came into this morning, was this beautiful amaryllis going to come into bloom. And this is how the pot was sitting. Just like that. Upside down, completely dry. But this amaryllis is going to rebloom with a wonderful stalk of 5 flowers and a second flower stalk right there. So we're going to turn it right side up. I'm not going to force it too much, but I think I'll probably put a bit of a stake in it to sort of hold it up there. We'll give it a good watering, and it'll be up and blooming in no time. So don't let anybody ever tell you amaryllis aren't tough plants and can be grown for years and bloomed almost regularly every year if they're looked after well. This one obviously had good care when it was growing, terrible care when it was stored away, but that kind of thing happens. But anyway, there we go. Amaryllis, tough as nails, these things. All right. So I'm going to just scroll at the comments here a little bit and just see if we have any comments. I have to move this down a little bit. I did see a comment there. I'm going to scroll back down a little bit. All right. Okay, we had the question, can we plant the calla lilies outside now? No. Callas, cannas, dahlias, all that, when they're growing, they got to be frost free. So you got a while to wait. Calla lilies, Calla, I would not start them yet. Calla lilies behave a little differently than your cannas and your dahlias. Callas, I sort of equate a bit more like you're planting, let's say you're planting a daffodil bulb or a tulip bulb. When you plant it, they start growing. After a few weeks of that growing, they come into bloom. They bloom for their period, and then they finish, and then they're done for the season as far as blooming goes. So if you start a calla lily now, you'll likely have it blooming in May, and then it'll be finished. So I don't start my callas yet. I start my callas much later because I want them blooming in July and August in the summertime. So I don't do my callas yet. I keep them as dormant as possible. Scrolling up here, Paula's got her cannas in her cold room. Yeah, it's time. Get them out. Let's get them started. We'll be pulling all our cannas out this week. We'll be pulling out all our dahlias this week. Our dahlias we keep over like our cannas. We don't chop them up and that in the fall. We'll divide them now. Um, Personal preference. You can do them either way. Depends mostly how much room you have to store them. Sophie's talking about caladiums. Caladiums in pots, very similar to what we just did. Um, it is pretty much time with caladiums to get them going. Now, with caladiums, really, really important of any plant of these summer flowering bulbs that need extra heat, it's caladiums. Caladiums love the heat. So if you've got them dry, you've got them in pots, you just let the pots dry out. We often treat them that way. Just let the pots dry for the winter. Um, and then you've got your corms out, your pots. Give them a bit of watering. Put them on a heating pad. Keep them in a warm spot. Water them with warm water. They love heat to get going. The other one that loves the heat to get going, if you're buying caladium bulbs or alocasia bulbs or tubers, I guess, they like heat as well. And maybe we'll look at those next week. We'll talk about how to deal with those to get them started. Because sometimes they'll just sit there until they get a lot of heat. So we'll deal with those maybe next week. We'll get those out. Oh, Mary had a good question. When will the radio show Let's Get Growing start again? Uh, 1 week from yesterday. So I think it's the 29th of March. Let's Get Growing, the radio show, will be back on the air. We're on CKDO out of Oshawa. Now, from a radio station standpoint, it doesn't have a massive range. But you can often get it up into like Peterborough and that when you're in the Oshawa, if you're outside of the city. But you can't often get it in the city or west of the city. So if you're interested in listening, go to ckdo.ca on your phone or on your computer. And if you go to ckdo.ca, you can hit the listen live button on their website and you can get our show anywhere in the world. So it'll start at 9 a.m. Saturday, March the 29th, I think it is. And we'll be back on until Thanksgiving, I think. So 9 a.m. Saturday mornings. If you want a question answered live on the radio, you can send us an email to letsgetgrowing@ckdo.ca. You can phone the radio station if you want and leave a recorded message, and we'll answer your questions that way too. And often those questions that we get on the radio on Saturdays, sometimes they need a good visual. So we'll often tackle some of those questions on Let's Get Growing Live on Sundays. If there's pruning questions or things like that that we can, explain better with a camera on, then we do that as well. So great thing to do. Listen to the radio on Saturday mornings. Watch Let's Get Growing Facebook Live on Sundays. And then, of course, we put them all up onto our YouTube channel. Let's Get Growing and Mason House Gardens on YouTube. You can see our videos there. Subscribe and follow us along. The more subscribers we get, the more people end up getting to see it. So that's a little thing you can help us with. See if we have any other questions. Oh, hi, Linda McCleary. See you there, Wanda. Any other questions? Oh, Norma asking about starting elephant ears. Yeah, we're going to start elephant ears. You can start them now. But again, heat, heat, heat. Cheryl's gonna go. What's the name of the big serrated plant in the planter with the green room potato vines and the dragon wing? Oh, okay. That picture on that's on Facebook right now of a great container we did last summer with our gold, the gold canary wings, the gold leaf dragon wing begonia. That's a philodendron. That's one of our philodendron house plants. It just gets plunked into that container for the summer. And we'll talk more about things like that as we get going into the spring season. Tropicals in containers, bringing your house plants outside. That's a whole topic for another day. But that big plant that Cheryl's asking you about, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see the picture of the container. It was an amazing container. And that's just a big philodendron house plant. So, all right, I think that's all the questions for today. We'll wrap it up. Uh, get out and garden if you can. Like I said, I was prepared to get out into the garden today. There's lots of things to do, lots of things you can be doing. Maybe we'll be out in the garden next week. But one thing I'm going to say just before we head out, as far as gardening now is when I like to get out into the garden and cut back things that we leave over the winter. I like to do it now because for us anyway, the ground is still frozen. Most bulbs haven't really started to come up. Perennials haven't started to emerge much yet. So if you're walking around in the garden, you're not going to hurt much. Now, if you have heavy, wet clay soil that's really sticky, you got to be careful about treading in the garden a lot. We have light, sandy soil. We don't even leave footprints at this time of the year, so it's a bit of a plus for us. But now is the time when the ground is still frozen that we get out on the garden and start cutting everything back. As soon as our last bit of snow leaves, that's what we'll be doing. So we'll leave it there for now. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Let's Get Growing.